A very good afternoon to the organizers, the Women Education and Empowerment Trust, TWEET, as it is called, and Padma Shri awardee, social activist, Ms. K.V. Rabia. She's not with us, but my greetings to her. And also, I extend my greetings to Professor Kuratulain Ali, Professor, Department of Social Work, Aligarh Muslim University, and all the volunteers who have hooked up on this Zoom meeting for a very important national webinar, which is being organized in the 75th year of India's independence. I'll request all to mute the mics. Mehrunisa, please mute the mic. Thank you. So this is a very important national webinar in the 75th year of India's independence, when we are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Utsav. And as it has been rightly pointed out, Amrit Utsav can only be celebrated when we are all literate. All brothers and sisters are literate. And sadly, in our country, women literacy lags phenomenally. So the topic for the webinar is functional literacy for women and its impact. And it is aimed at creating awareness on the need of functional literacy for women. I thank the organizers from the TWEET for having organized this, particularly Ms. Rahmatul Nisa, Ms. Shaista Rafat, Ms. Farah, Ms. Huda, and I extend a very warm welcome from myself, and I wish that the phenomenal work which you are going to take up, that is each one teach 10, you are greatly successful. So good wishes from my department, which I'm heading, Department of Adult Continuing Education and Extension, and my university, that is Jamia Millia Islamia, for organizing this webinar, for deliberating as to how we can go further for the next whole year and sustain this program. So the slogan of your program is also very catchy. That is freedom from illiteracy, each one teach 10. And indeed, this is the need, because if we look at the statistics, the gender gaps are phenomenal. Literacy is a bridge from misery to hope. And this is what Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General at United Nations, in his message on the occasion of International Literacy Day on 8 September 1997 had said. Literacy opens the doors for education. It is the key to advancement of individuals, especially girls and women. And from the point of view of women and girls, literacy always takes a backseat. But we have various reports after reports, which continue to point out that literacy is very important. It is important for the women, it is important for the families, and it is very important for the society and the whole nation for facilitating its economic development, social development, and for taking the nation forward leaps and bounds. The assumption that illiterate women cannot participate fully in development has led to governments across the world to initiate and run literacy programs that focus on 3 R's of learning, that is reading, writing, and numeracy. Now, we are not just limited to the 3 R's of learning, that is reading, writing, and numeracy. Important thing is that we talk about functional literacy. So functional literacy is that when this literacy translates into functionality, which means that they are able to use the literacy which has been acquired meaningfully. That would mean that if suppose somebody is going to the bank or is standing at the bus stop or is at the hospital or is at the ration shop, So they are able to translate their literacy skills literally there. We are a very tolerant nation, actually. So if we find somebody, if somebody requests us, so we will show them the way, we will help them in the bank, or we will help them on the bus stop. So that help is okay, but that help in the longer run is very detrimental. So this literacy has to translate into functionality. It should help them to do their everyday chores. It should help them to gain employment and use it meaningfully for income generation. So this is also very important. Literacy empowers women with skills for income generation, conducting banking and other transactions, traveling independently without help, understanding aspects of health and nutrition, childcare, which ultimately help in improving chances of neonatal, infant, and maternal survival. Literate women are better in understanding issues of government and governance, environment, sustainability, and climate change. Today, climate change is posing a grave danger to all of us. In fact, this is pushing humanity towards extinction. So literacy is a tool which will help us all to understand not just sustainability, but also the issues of climate change. Literacy empowers women to overcome discrimination. Literate girls and women have greater awareness of their rights, and they have greater confidence and freedom to take important decisions that affect their personal and social lives. Literacy also enhances women's work prospects and those related to their employability. And literacy ultimately helps in achieving goal of gender equality. And when we are talking about gender parity, that you come on the same plank, so literacy becomes that tool. And today, when the technological innovations are going on at a huge pace, at this point in time, also today, when we are talking about digital changes and digital, upgradations, it is literacy which acts as an important tool for keeping all of us abreast with the changes. So all in all, literacy acts as a bulwark against poverty and a building block of development. Literacy and education are essential, and they are complementary to investments in roads, dams, clinics, factories, and industries. So if we want to have an overall development, which we are forever talking about, we cannot construe of this development without literacy. But, sadly, in the 21st century that we are, today also we are still fighting with the issues of literacy and education. It is not a basic human right for women across the globe. We still face, challenges of accessibility, participation, retention, and utilization of education. Now, some of the global statistics are actually very startling. In 1820, only 12% of people in the world could read and write. Today, this share has reversed. So a global literacy rate above the age of 15 years is about 86.3%. For males, it is 90%, and for females, it is 82.7%. So at a global level, what we are looking at a gender gap of 9%. So there are about 781 million illiterate adults in the world, and 2/3 of this 781 million, which is a huge number, they are women. And despite we have been, governments have been focusing on the literacy program, the basic literacy program, there is a substantial challenge ahead, which the poor countries in the world face. And illiteracy still remains an impediment in the development of the nations. Less than 40% of the countries provide equal access to education to both boys and girls. So we see that we cannot have a gender parity. There will always be a disparity in education if only 40% of the countries are providing equal access. So in 60% countries of the world, women do not have access to education, or their access to education and literacy is limited. Globally, 1 in every 5 children in the age group 6 to 17 years are out of school. And out of these, 130 million are girls. So out of this huge number now, this 130 million girls are out of school, and out of this 130 million, 15 million girls are out of school at primary level. And 9 million girls are hailing from the sub-Saharan Africa. And there are 3 other countries like Nigeria, Pakistan, Ethiopia, where more than 1 million girls are out of school. And also school dropout amongst girls at primary level is a huge problem. So only 39% of the countries have equal proportion of enrollment for boys and girls at secondary level. So, what the scene we see at primary level, the same is occurring at the secondary level. And according to World Bank, if every girl manages to finish 12 years of quality education, so it means if the girl is entering school at class 1 and she leaves the school at class 12, then the lifetime earnings of women would increase from $15 trillion to $30 trillion. Now, there is one silver lining, because after looking at all these statistics, one feels very disheartened that if this is the state of affairs at the global level, then what is the way forward? The silver lining is that at the tertiary level, which is at the university level or higher education, there are overall more number of females than the males. So this is at the global level. Women form a majority of university graduates, but a minority when it comes to those who are, graduating from STEM subjects, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, from the global, I come to my own country, that is India. And if I were to look at India's condition, I would rather like to look at the pre-British period than the British period and the post-independence period. But because of paucity of time, I am going to focus on what the current situation is, that is the post-independence period. Now, but prior to looking at the post-independence period, I will share one statistics that is from 1941. At that time, the overall literacy rate of our country was 16.1%. And the male literacy rate at that time was 24.9%. Now, out of this total 16.1%, the female literacy rate was only 7.3%. So which means that it was almost 25% for males and 7.3% for females. So this shows a huge gap in the male and female literacy before we attained our independence. And when the first census was done in 1951, the literacy rate had come to, overall literacy rate had come to 27.16%. But the female literacy rate was at 8.86% only. So this means that, at that point in time also, we were far below. The gap between the male and the female literacy rate was 18.3%. Which was existing at the time of independence, that is in 1951. And thereafter we have had one education commission after the other. So starting with the University Education Commission, which was chaired by Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, he emphasized, because the educationists were visualizing the development of the country, and they were looking at the disparities, they were looking at the gender gaps, and they were quite sure that as long as this gap was not filled, the true development could not be ushered in. And, Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, he emphasized that, we should have women colleges, and they should provide the same facilities which the men college provide. And the curriculum which was to be taken up in these colleges and university, they should treat them means women, they should treat the women and girls both as women and as citizens. So this is a very important thing. So which means that they were citizens, but they were not citizens like men. They have been second-class citizens in the country. Then in 1952, we have the Mudliar Commission, and Mudliar Commission goes on to emphasize on co-education for boys and girls. And it also recommends opening of girls' schools in areas wherever they are required. Then comes a very important commission, which is the Kothari Commission of 64. And Kothari Commission goes on to say, Dr. D.S. Kothari says that for full development of our human resources and improvement of homes, for molding the character of children during the most impressionable years of infancy, and education of women is of great importance. Now, after this, we have the National Policy on Education, which comes in 1986. And this education policy also, pays special attention to women's education and recommends technical and vocational education for women. This commission also suggests that textbook be rewritten so that they highlight women's equality and they break gender stereotypes. So this is again a very important education commission. So subsequently in the NPE program of action of 92, this focus on women education continues. Then we have the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, which comes in 2001, and this impacts on the enrollment of children. More number of girls are enrolled, but once they cross the primary years, again, the dropout is very high. Then we have the Right to Education Act of 2010. This reserves 25% of seats for children from the underprivileged section. And as a result, this also gives an impetus and it brings in more girls to schools. But again, this is up to elementary education level. So therein after, again, the dropout rate, that increases. Now 75 years have elapsed. We have made great leaps and bounds, great development we have done. We have a successful mission to Mars. We are a nuclear power. We have indigenously manufactured satellites. We are leading in computer technologies. But when we look at the social face of our country, we are far from satisfactory. We have a huge population. We are second only to China. But mind you, China is a country with huge population, but each and every person in China is literate. So they have provided literacy, they have provided education to their masses, which we have not been able to do. So the current census shows that our overall literacy rate is just about 74%. Male literacy rate is 82%. And the female literacy rate is just about 65%, 65.46. I'm not talking about the decimals. And the gender gap is more than 16%. And if we look globally, we have the largest population of illiterates in the world. Now we have a state like Kerala, and I'm very happy to share, it has an overall literacy rate of 92%. So this is a state which is a beacon of light for all these states. But on the other hand, we also have a state like Bihar, where the literacy rate is dismal. The female literacy rate is only about 51.5% as compared to 92.07% literacy rate of Kerala. So the astounding disparity between Kerala and Bihar is that of more than 40%. Now, India is also a very, very hungry country. We are just about 102 out of the 117 countries in Global Hunger Index. We are on 129th position out of 189 countries in the Human Development Index, which is the GDI. We are, a medium gender development index. We fall there only. And women are lagging behind their male counterparts, and they need to catch up on various developmental parameters. Now, what has happened is that 33% of the seats are reserved in panchayat for the women. But what we see, that illiteracy of these women have led to the phenomena of mukhyapati. That is, the sarpanch husband actually go and govern that particular panchayat. So she is just a namesake sarpanch in that panchayat. Now, today we have women entering politics, but not as many as compared to men. But what happens is they enter politics, but they are not equipped enough to take decisions. So we have Right to Education Act, we have acts after act. Now, recently, we also have the new education policy. Now, what is happening is, if you look at the policy document, it is totally silent on, issues of gender, region, caste, persons with disabilities, and an education policy has to address these groups. So the developmental differences which are there in the country, they need to be addressed. And in the words of Jawaharlal Nehru, you can tell the condition of a nation by looking at the status of women. Now, then what is the way forward? The way forward is that since there is so much of lag in the literacy, we have to start focusing on literacy, that is functional literacy, especially literacy for women. And I congratulate Tweet for taking up this initiative. So we have to focus on functional literacy. That is, along with literacy, we have to have to provide skills so that it brings about functionality in the literacy program. As much as possible, we should have, an area-based approach. So what we do is we take up pockets, we take up areas, we do the baseline survey. After doing the baseline survey, then we go on to formulate literacy program for that particular area. Please keep in mind that if we don't have an area-specific approach, one shoe fits it all. That kind of approach cannot take us forward. And we have to have foolproof mechanism for implementation of the literacy program. So we have to think of innovative mechanisms, innovative methods of implementing literacy. So this will require mobilization. So we not only mobilize the illiterates, but we have to mobilize the literate. Because when we are, thinking that one woman will be teaching 10 other women, so this woman has to be very dedicated. This woman has to be very, very ignited. So for this reason, we will have to make it a societal mission. It cannot be just on a paper, it has to be translated into action. So while we conduct the literacy program, that is actually conduct the literacy classes, my suggestion would be that we should also, when we do the baseline survey, we should also look at the availability of the timing when the woman can come for the literacy classes. So make groupings according to the time they are going to be available. So grouping should be done. Because some women may be free during the morning hours, some may be free during the afternoon, some are during the evening, some may be available a little late in the evening. So accordingly group. So the person who's going to take the classes, the volunteer who's going to take the classes, so please give that volunteer those group where they follow a particular, so there should be a time match between the volunteer and the learners who come for the class. Then also, try and rope in children. So have child to mother programs. wherein, children also motivate their mothers, children also help because children are going to school. So for school going children, it also becomes a revision for these children, when they are also helping their mothers to learn. So also emphasize on child to mother program. If possible, there should be facilities for creche, or a creche like setup where these working women or women who are coming for the literacy classes, they can leave their children and then they can be part of the literacy program with peace. Now further, whatever program is being run, please don't leave the program like that for 1 year it will keep on running. Have continuous and monitoring and evaluation of the program. This is very important. So take stock. So it could be weekly, it could be fortnightly, it could be monthly, So keep on a regular basis an appraisal of the levels of learning which have been achieved. That is very important. And from time to time, keep on reviewing the program. So if one strategy is not working, then leave out that strategy and then go on to the next strategy. So this will also be very important. And flexibility will help to a great extent. So I would like to say that literacy and education are basic human rights and they are required for social change. They cannot remain a stronghold of men. They are required for democratization. They are the basis for cultural as well as national identity, which is a great need of the hour. And it is also essential that through these skills, girls and women become empowered individuals. They become effective homemakers. They are effective politicians. So good luck to the Women Education and Empowerment Trust tweet. You have indeed taken up a very noble mission. And I wish that you achieve all success in running this program. After all, if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. Thank you.